All right, are you tired of wrestling with the same old React challenges? Well, in this explainer, we're going to move past the basics. We're going to give you a toolbox with 6 powerful intermediate concepts that are seriously going to change the way you code.
Look, we've all been there, stuck on some tricky development problem. So here's our roadmap. We're tackling 6 of the most common ones and showing you the exact React tool designed to solve each.
Okay, first up, a classic React headache, keeping your data in sync. So you've got 2 sibling components, right? They both need the same piece of information. How in the world do you make sure they're always on the same page? Just imagine this. You've got a Toto count component, and it's proudly displaying 5 tasks. But the total list right next to it only shows 4. That's the kind of bug that drives developers absolutely nuts. And it's all because they each have their own copy of the state, and they've fallen out of sync. So what's the solution? We lift state up. Now, it might sound a little fancy, but the idea is actually super simple. We just move the state to the closest shared parent. That parent becomes the one and only source of truth for its children. So now the parent component owns the to-do state, and it just passes that state down to both children as props. Any updates, they all happen in one single place, and React handles re-rendering both children with the correct data. Problem solved. All right, next up, we're going to tackle a problem that can turn your beautiful code into a tangled mess: prop drilling. Get ready to say goodbye to passing data through what feels like endless layers of components.
You know, prop drilling isn't just annoying, it is a maintenance nightmare. Your components get bloated with all these props they don't even use, and if you need to change a name, good luck. You're about to go on a wild goose chase through your entire codebase. The solution here is the really elegant Context API, and it's basically a simple 3-step dance. First, you create a context. Second, you wrap your component tree in a provider and give it a value. And third, any component inside that tree can now access that value directly with the useContext hook. Just like that, no more prop drilling. But here's a pro tip. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Context is fantastic for that global data. Think themes, user info, that kind of stuff. But try to avoid it for data that changes all the time, because that can lead to a lot of unnecessary re-renders. A good rule of thumb? If you find yourself passing a prop more than 2 levels deep, it might be time to think about context.
Okay, so sometimes you need to reach out and touch the DOM directly, but you need to do it without triggering a re-render. Well, that's exactly where our next tool, refs, comes in super handy. This slide just nails the core difference. State is for what you see on the screen. Refs, they're for what you don't. I like to think of a ref as like a secret pocket for your component. It's a place where you can store values that React doesn't need to watch. So when should you actually reach for a ref? Well, there are 2 main scenarios. First, when you need to call a method on a DOM element, like focusing an input field. And second, when you need to store some value that sticks around between renders but doesn't cause a re-render, like a timer ID. We have all been there. You build this beautiful modal and it gets trapped and totally mangled by a parent container's CSS. But what if you could just, teleport it out of there? Well, with our next tool, you can. Welcome to the amazing world of portals. With this really powerful tool, you can render your component's UI basically anywhere in the DOM, letting you break free from the constraints of parent containers. It's time to say goodbye to those frustrating CSS bugs for good. Portals are an absolute game changer for things like modals, tooltips, you name it. And here's the real magic. Even though your component is rendered somewhere else entirely in the DOM, it still acts like a normal React child. Events bubble up through the React tree just like they're supposed to. You really get the best of both worlds. A single error in one tiny component can bring your entire app crashing down. But what if you could contain the damage? Keep the rest of your UI running smoothly. Let's find out how. So, without any protection, a single JavaScript error during rendering can be catastrophic. Seriously, React's internal state gets all messed up, the entire component tree unmounts, and your user is left staring at that dreaded white screen of death. Error boundaries are your app's secret weapon. You just wrap a component in an error boundary, and if that component crashes, the boundary catches the error, displays a nice fallback UI, and keeps the rest of your app running like nothing even happened. Now, before you go wrapping everything in error boundaries, there are 3 key rules to remember. 1, they have to be class components. 2, They only catch rendering errors in their children. And 3, they won't save you from errors in things like event handlers or async code. And finally, let's talk about speed. Big JavaScript bundles can make your app feel super sluggish, especially for users on slower connections. It's time to put your app on a bit of a diet.
So what's the traditional approach? We bundle everything into one massive JavaScript file. The problem with that, your users are forced to download code for features they might not even use. It's kind of like making them download an entire movie just so they can watch the trailer. The solution is code splitting, and it's a total game changer for performance. You use react.lazy to tell React, hey, don't load this component yet. Then you wrap it in a suspense component which handles showing a loading state, like a spinner, while that code is being fetched. It's a powerful 1-2 punch.
And the result is a total night and day difference. Instead of one giant file, you have this small initial bundle and a bunch of smaller chunks that get loaded only when they're needed. For your users, this just means a faster, more responsive app from the very first click.
So there you have it. From lifting state all the way to code splitting, you now have 6 really powerful tools in your React toolbox. Each one is a specific solution to a common challenge. So the only question left is, which one are you going to reach for first? Go out there and build something amazing.